Anything is possible with a strong process and a strategic plan. Anything is possible. Whatever your goal is, it is possible if you get a strong process and a strategic plan.
Welcome back to another episode of Unexpectedly Successful. And today, I have this amazing individual that I've been looking forward to have this conversation with, and you'll hear to know why. Michelle Elder, and let me brag about Michelle. Michelle is the CEO and founder of Savvy Consulting Group. And when you get Michelle as your consultant, you get, get this right. You get strategy, planning, and processes for you to optimize anything you do, either as an individual, as a small business, or as a large corporate. And let me tell you some of the results that Michelle helps her clients get. At least in one instance, she helped this company, a large corporate, save $1.5 million when the project was planned to be over budget. I don't know about you, but $1.5 million is a large amount. So the investment they had in Michelle was really a drop in the bucket. And what she does for these large corporations can do that for small businesses and individuals. And so let's get going with this conversation. Michelle, how are you doing today?
Hi, Griselda. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. It is an honor to join your podcast.
It is an honor for me to have you here, Michelle. And I'm excited to dig into your story as a business owner because you are a little bit of a puzzle for those who know you and definitely for those who don't know you yet. Anyway, the first question, what is to be Michelle for you, Michelle?
Constant evolution. I'm always focusing on getting better and better, improving myself. And I think like as I look back over my life, that has been a really big theme of just having a goal, being goal oriented, and being focused on that goals, trying to like improve my life and improve myself.
Awesome, Michelle. And as you're talking about this, your description of yourself is basically the description of what you offer your clients, right? Because you offer optimization of their own systems and processes for continuous improvement. That's an amazing connection right there. I'm excited. Okay, so you talked about being most proud of your younger self, and I'm gonna quote you here, for all the hard work, sacrifice, and dedication she poured out in blind hope for you in this moment. Can you please unfold that for us, Michelle?
Yes, well, I guess I kind of alluded to it a moment ago where, there was a quote that I came upon in my journey and it stuck out to me. If you don't know by now, I'm a quote person. I love wisdom or wise sayings. So there was a quote I found. It's called, do something today that your future self will thank you for. And so that really stuck out to me, in my mind. Like I would just hear that over and over again. And so I just always had that perspective. I kept that as my perspective, as far as like doing something today that my future self will thank me for. And, over the time, it didn't always like, sound as cool as that quote. When you're in the weeds of like going through the day to day. And sometimes I even forgot all about that quote. But what was interesting is I think maybe 2 years ago, came like that quote came to my awareness again, and I remembered like all of that motivation and determination that it helped fuel. And one of my friends had asked me on my birthday, "Hey, what did you learn this year, like being another year older?" And it was really interesting that that quote popped to my mind, and it was like for the first time I was looking at that quote from like the future self, and
Oh,
I really was
wow.
like, I feel so thankful for myself. And
That
it's
is
so
the
funny.
coolest
It sounds so
realization
funny.
there.
Sounds so funny. Yes, I do. I feel so thankful for myself, and all the hard work that I have put into, get here. It's like, you put your blinders on and you get into that work day to day, and like sometimes it gets discouraging and it's long. It's that day after day after day. But yeah, when you look up and you look back and it's like, wow, I'm so grateful for that younger self who didn't know if it would work out. And now I'm just so grateful for
That
her.
is the coolest reflection, Michelle, because we often like I've heard this approach of what would you tell your younger self, but like being thankful of that previous version that has led to this moment, it's super cool. It's a different level of gratefulness to my own person. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you talked about consistently day to day to day. In your messages you talk about consistently is the key. So
Mhm.
can you please give us more context to what is your day to day, what is those ups and downs that you talked about, and why is it key for you to be here right this moment?
Yeah. Sure. I think one thing that I've been learning about is an ideal week. And so that is really kind of just that idea, the idea of an ideal week, and having that as excuse me, putting consistency um in your life. It kind of ties everything together. So you have a goal. Oh my gosh, it just came to my mind something that's really exciting, that I wanted to share with you on this note,
Yes.
because it's a book that I'm reading called The Atomic Habits, by, and I have it here, by James Clear. Is that,
Yes.
yeah. And yeah, James Clear, so Atomic Habits. And there was something in there that they said was that winners and losers both have the same goal.
Which
And
is
that was just like, I'm sorry, that just like blew my mind. Winners and losers both have the same goal. Like they both started out with like winning. They're both
oh
like, and
wow.
that really hit me because, like I alluded, I've like grown up as like always being goal oriented, and like I have goals and I'm gonna reach my, potential. I'm gonna keep getting better. But it's kind of like, what is the difference between like the people that actually accomplish their goals and they don't accomplish their goals? It is like their daily habits, and that's what that book
Yeah.
is about, your atomic habits. But that's that consistency piece. It's like, did you do the things that were required to get it done? um, and it's sort of like a bottom line mentality, which is kind of could be harsh. It's like a business mindset that it's like either it is or it isn't. And so like on the day-to-day basis, it doesn't matter how you feel or what happened. It's sort of like the consistency, like did you put in that work day after day after day? And I think that is really what makes the big difference. And that's what that book was talking about, is like those, the things that, the thing that makes the difference is the winner did what it took every day to get there. And, nobody's perfect. So everything you do is imperfect. But
Yes.
you know the majority, like 90%, or for to the best of your ability, that you keep trying consistently and you don't give up. So that would hopefully answers your question.
That's awesome. That I love the reflection. And like if we talk about winners and losers both started with the same goal in mind, it's like, do I want to be a winner? Do I want to be a loser a year from now, right? And it's a deep reflection, it's a harsh reality. And that ties to something you say here. Living a life with a system and a strategic plan is hard, but it is also hard to live a life with a system, without a system or a strategic plan, choose your heart. I think it connects to that. So, what has been your own experience? And I told you all, if you get Michelle, you get systems, strategy, processes, planning. So this is her own journey. What has been your own journey, Michelle, as a business owner in systems and strategic plans, and just like bringing it to the day to day, and because I when I hear strategic plans, it's like, ooh, that's a big document. What is it for you?
Yeah. Actually it can sound a little bit overwhelming or intimidating if you're not used to writing everything down or making documentation or, those kind of things. But really, like, a strategic plan is maybe just a fancy word for taking the time to, like, have your plan well thought out is the strategy piece. The strategy is thinking through stuff. What are the possibilities that might go wrong? What could go right? What kind of things, like, it's kind of like, you when they talk about chess, it's like always being thinking like 5 steps ahead. So, like, for me, for example, like, really practical, like growing up, I grew up in situations where, like, just, in struggle, like they're, in having less than lack, I grew up with a lot of opportunities, okay? And so, like, I always wanted to better my situation. I didn't just want to, like, keep having the same life that I had. I wanted to do something, excuse me, to make my life better. So that would be my goal, right? That's your goal, what you want to have. But how are you going to have that? I can't just say I'm going to be better. I'm going to have, a stable income. I'm going to have, these kind of things. No, it's how are you going to get there? That's sort of like the plan is, and those consistency is that steps that you go from A to B, the process. Well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then the strategy piece is just really thinking through, how to make it smooth, if that makes sense. So, in my way of, in my mind growing up, I'm thinking, okay, what can I do to better my situation? So, in real life, my strategic plan was I always wanted to be a business owner. But I'm coming up, growing up. What am I going to have a business like, as a child? So it's like you got to have so, but that's thinking through things. That's a strategy, because it's like, okay, at that time, I didn't have anything to, or I wasn't in the place in my life, in my mindset, in my skill set to have a business, right? But I knew that's where I wanted to go, and I also wanted to have this better life. So I was like, okay, how am I going to come up with this? So what I did was I went to college. I learned some, got some education. I decided to go to corporate and learn some skills. And I thought that those skills would, one, help me maybe leverage something in my future, but one, I thought that it would get me some capital because people need stability to, like, get their mental health together, get, like, your basic needs in order and things like that. So that was my strategy, was, go to school, get a go to corporate, play on the corporate ladder, and that was my hustle, so that I could gain that income and build my credit as well, because that we're living in America, you need credit, you need capital. So that was sort of my strategic plan, because as I went on with that capital, I was able to invest in myself, invest in personal development, invest in counseling, invest in, all kind of different things, tools, resources, buy, different things like that. And then, as I got on, I was able to leverage that, actually even further, than I thought I would be able to leverage, which you may get to later, which is how I ended up here in this conversation with you. But that was sort of like as a kid, that was my strategy. And I was thinking, hey, I'm going to get enough money, to get stability, get myself together, get, my life kind of in order. And then I'll be able to then build up some capital, build up my credit. So that way I could leverage that to start a business.
Wow.
So that was sort of my strategy, and God had His own plan, and it didn't work out exactly that way, but I did, try to stick through that. And you can see that that was my plan. I Every time I took a job, I was very strategic in the job that I chose. It wasn't just because like, well, I could go over here and make more money, or at different times, it was the economy was up and down, rough. But I always made an intention to choose the job. Hey, what is this going to teach me?
Wow.
And things like that. Yeah,
I love that. What is this going to
that was my
teach me?
strategy.
Wow. Okay. So you said a lot of really valuable pieces. So going back to the strategic planning, is really the planning is how going from A to B, and the strategy is thinking through to get there the smoothest way. I love that. You talked about several things that I want to dig deeper into this, but the first one is you always knew that you wanted to be a business owner. Do you recall the moment in which you said, I want to have my own business, and context to that?
No, no, I don't. I kind of grew up around like entrepreneurs or solopreneurs or kind of like that hustle culture. So it wasn't like a total foreign language to like my environment. But I don't know what about me was just like, I'm going to be a business owner. And it was kind of funny. I don't know. As I think back, like as a kid, I made up a game called business, and I was like, I would be like,
Oh, wow.
asking, I would be trying to ask everyone, pestering people, will you play business with me? So I would pop up in my briefcase, and I had my keyboard and my cash register and forms. I had forms. I would go around it did, like anywhere in life. I was as a kid, I would be out like at Myers, like a grocery store, and at the front of the store they have like applications that look, in my mind, I'm like, that's a business form and I need it.
That is so
Um
awesome,
I'm like
Michelle.
anywhere and there's like a random form. I'm like, there's some forms. I need to collect those. And I've like run home and organize all my forms. And then I would just be like, hey, do you want to play business with me? And I would like make people fill out forms. I don't know. It just, and then I guess it just evolved like, as I got older, then that's like a seed. So then I'm like thinking about business, or like in spare times or like down times when that was just something that I always held was able to hold to. It's just like a game that I'll play in my mind, or have different ideas like, oh, I have an idea, this would be fun to write it down.
So, then you said you went to college, you got an education, you thought of acquiring skills that then you could leverage upon for your own business. Do you recall in which moment you had this vision that this was the way to get to your dream of having your own business?
No, not at all. In at that point, I don't even think like I translated exactly like the skills I'm learning here are what I need for my business. It was like I need this skill to get my career so that I can get
Yes,
capital, I can,
got it.
build my life, I can get credit, then I can figure out whatever I can use that capital and credit to like, start a business.
Wow.
And then as I kind of went into my career, to my studies and kind of like learned more, started to be like, oh, okay, I can see how this relates. And I could, I was raised by as an entrepreneur. My dad is a solopreneur. So he I kind of was exposed to him like trying to, sell his things and things like that. And so, I'm seeing him in his business, and also other people in my community just like having, their side things that they do on the side for extra money and things like that. And then like I'm going to school and I'm learning like system and data and reporting and things like that. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is what my dad needs. Like,
Oh,
oh, this is
wow.
what like if this person had this, like they would this would help them. Or like especially when I got into corporate and I'm seeing like it in like real life, like functioning, and it's just like I'm always like, oh, this is what they need, this is what. And so that's how it kind of like I think transitioned over time to like, hey, now I think I have something to help small businesses, because I'm like, this is why we struggled, I think, because like we didn't have these systems in place. And like if because it wasn't like an effort level, it wasn't like a quality level, like
Yes.
um the the level of quality was there, like the workmanship, the skill set, the ability to sell, like the ability to
Yes.
talk to people, the ability to build relationships and network. And like that is all there, like hitting on all cylinders. But
Yes.
like those systems in place, and you're like, oh, you didn't miss out on this date, or like, oh, you had to, well, you didn't have this paperwork, or like, different things. I've heard people like just, in community conversations, like, oh, like an audit or something like that, which if
Wow.
people feel like, oh, I'm being audited, and it's like, yeah, that is scary, no lie, I'm sure it would be. But if you realize in business, that's a normal function of business. And one of my
Yes.
roles in corporate was sort of dealing with the like federal, like, oh, sorry, regulations,
Regulations.
and
Hmm.
sort of going through that like process of the government coming in and auditing large corporations like on a quarterly and like annually basis. So it's like
Yes.
when you have those structures in place, those things, don't impact you so much.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
love it. I love it, Michelle, because I mean, you were going through life. You were exposed to entrepreneurs that did not have the systems. Then you evolve in your own skills and knowledge, and then you were exposed to corporate, which you have a long history in corporate America. Um, and then you started seeing how they were thriving because of those systems and planning versus those other people who were struggling and not really benefiting from optimizing their systems, right? So to the services that you now provide, the passion and the caring comes from that deep place of you wanting to help those people back from your community childhood moments, right?
yes, yes,
Wow,
exactly.
wow, this is awesome. And for our audience, for those small business owners listening, for those aspiring business owners listening, there's always a moment in which you can say, no more to the disorganized paperwork, no more of the not knowing how much I'm making, not knowing how much my product costs, my expenses are. This is the moment to really get a handle of all those pieces to my business, and not only for knowledge but to optimize, because like Michelle, you said, the effort, the knowledge, the abilities, the skills, everything was there except for that missing foundational part, where you come in to really help understand and then establish systems and processes for a brighter future. I love that big mission of yours, Michelle. So going back to your times in corporate America, and then one day you said, it's time. How did this transition to from corporate, which can be hard work, but it's a stable income, now to you being your own business owner and bringing your childhood dream to reality? Tell us about it.
Okay, that's so funny. That's why I feel like I'm belong on the unexpectedly successful podcast. Because it's so unexpected. And it's sort of like it's completely unexpected. Basically what happened is, yeah, it's just not the normal way that I ever would have thought that I would be saying that I'm owning a business. It's so unexpected. So basically, it was actually happened during the pandemic. So there was a lot of changes, in just the environment, that caused a lot of disruption. And so that kind of like from there, I was working from home 100%, from my corporate job. And then through like just, and it's something that happens all of the time in corporate. Like they had a reorganization, a reorg, which means like leaders and head like very high up CEOs of different functions and are or like directors are like changing their ownership, their lens of ownership, which then like cascades down. So how that affected us is that that split, and actually it had to do with like a corporate policy change. And these are all like the behind the scene details, but long
Yes,
story
of
short,
our corporate America.
a lot of tape, a lot of things going on behind the scenes, just to
Yes.
say that our team had to split up and divide.
Wow. Wow.
And it was very interesting because I had been fulfilling that role for maybe a little bit over a year. And I had been in that role, like, and I'd say 100% because I didn't have any backup. So, um, like, if I had to take a day off or something, I had to like plan to, get things done, make sure things were out on time. If I'm taking like vacation or anything like
Wow.
that, it was just like I'm 100% responsible for this work
Like it
effort.
is a business owner. So you
Kind of.
were being trained. You were
I
being
guess.
trained.
Oh yeah, if you get in corporation, they'll definitely teach you how responsibility. The bottom line. The bottom line is real there. Um so that yeah, that's I had been operating that role for about like a little over a year. And so that role was very engaging. It was fun. I was making a lot of changes. It was a lot of hard work. And I was basically optimizing the reporting arm of that, like the reporting environment in that team, and also onboarding like a new repository that we were going to be reporting on, which had to do a lot of cleanup. It was
Wow.
a
Wow.
lot going on. But there, I did a lot of work, and what was interesting was during the pandemic, a lot of that work was easy for me to go unnoticed because I'm already at home. So like when I'm working late, it's like, there was like not it was just a lot of work in that. Okay. And then when I'm saying I'm working home from home, I'm saying like there was a lot of work going on. And when that team split up, it was interesting because they took on like another person did this to do this role, but they were hired. They were like up. They were like,
Oh wow.
it sounds petty, but they were like two. They were like two levels higher than me.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, and they were taking only part of my job,
Oh
and I
wow.
was like, oh, only part of my job, and the part that I just worked all of this time, like during the pandemic, I've been working like sometimes all
Wow.
night long, like
Oh my
like
God.
like unhealthy because it was like in the pandemic I didn't have good work life boundaries at all, and
So
that's
you were
very
home and
important.
you
Like
just worked.
working, and I worked so hard to like really optimize. I had put in a lot of work, and so this thing that I really cleaned up and got it like, I was really proud
Ready to
of like
go.
how like efficient I had got this. I had like got out all the errors. I had built in like some extra code, some extra processes. I had built in a change process to like help with this reorg because they're always reorging. So
Yes.
that like I built in a change process for that, to automate that. And then I'm handing that part off to the person that's higher than me. And like there's still like a full-time job left for me, like to do
Wow.
all the part
Oh
that now is
wow.
left. Like now
Wow.
we're gonna do raw cleanup starting from scratch. I mean, I'm doing it and it's fine. I'm operating like, but it's kind of like it just kind of feels like a little uncomfortable that that is going on.
A little uncomfortable.
And
Like
so
can you describe to my audience like the real emotions and thoughts in that moment? Because because this is,
because
I
you
mean,
see, I'm working my filter here. I'm
no, no,
working
no.
my
I
customer service filter.
this is the raw and genuine stories, Michelle. Tell us.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so like
I was I
frustration,
was upset. Like
upset,
yeah. I was really like hurt. Like my feelings were really hurt.
hurt.
Like because I had I had worked so long at this company, like longer than I ever expected to work at a job.
Yes,
Like almost 12 years. And I always every time I took a job, I like put my effort into it.
yes,
I'm always like trying to improve things. That's just my natural
yes.
inclination. And so every job I come with the same energy, like, oh, I'm gonna improve this. And I do, I make changes. I volunteer for stuff. I'm like, hey, I noticed this thing and I have an idea. Do
Wow.
you think? And like, managers are like, of course, do that.
Yes, do
Like,
it.
so yeah.
Do extra
So
work for
I'm like,
us.
right, for free. What
For free.
you want to help do like
You want
more
to
stuff?
optimize the company for free? Oh yeah.
And we're not
Sign
paying
me
you
up.
anything extra. Like, we're not even promoting you. Like, yes. You're
Wow.
staying late, you're working extra for nothing, and we're not paying you overtime. Yes, do this. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
all of those little things, but so it really kind of was like hurt my feelings because I worked so hard in my career and it meant so much to me because that's part of my strategy, right? Like
Yes,
I'm
yes.
building my
It was your
career.
lifeline.
Yeah, that was my thing. So yeah, like it really hurt my feelings, which then it's kind of like then that's, I think maybe that's my primary emotion was the hurt. And
Yes.
then like, my secondary emotions are coming up. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm like shutting down. I'm like, and then not, and I have to train this person. I had to
Lovely.
train her on how to do these things. And then I think the lady was feeling something for me because she was like, saying like, this, why are you were doing all this by yourself, like,
Mm.
and she's like, and I'm higher than you, I'm sure I'm making more than you,
So
like
somebody
I'm no,
started
I'm not even
seeing,
gonna do this.
wow,
She
wow.
starts telling me like, start telling me like, look at why are you doing so much? And I'm like, I, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I thought this was the way to get ahead. I thought this was, I thought this is, you work harder. You have to do everything. Like you have to just work hard. I have to work like harder to get ahead. Because that's just the way things are. And so it's just like, that was just like my mindset. Um, and
And
like
then,
work hard and then prove yourself and then maybe
uh,
you can ask for something instead of like demanding things up front. And so I think that was just a big shift, which I'm still, in conversations that we have offline, I'm still working on that shift.
but you're
um
doing amazing,
but
Michelle.
yeah,
So how did you go from that moment of hurt, frustration, anger, um, disappointment, upsetting, into say, this is it. I'm starting my own
it
business.
was a divine alignment.
Tell
It was a
me.
divine alignment. I mean, it sounds weird, I don't know how to describe it, but other than to say it was a divine alignment. I was shared, like, and I was just shared an insight, like, hey, have you ever tried contracting? And like, someone just kind of talked to me about contracting, and I had heard about it before, I knew about it before, but when you think about like doing a temporary job, like, I'd worked temp jobs before, but when you think about getting temp jobs, it's kind of like it doesn't sound safe. It's like, I don't want a temp job. Like, I'm trying to build a
Yes.
career, like, but then when you like get behind the scenes, it's like there's a whole world out here I didn't know. And it's kind of like a back end
Wow.
into business ownership, is to be a corporate contractor. And so I'm still providing the similar services that I would be to large corporations, that I was in that same seat, in that same frustration, putting in that same effort, trying to improve. But now, like just going in through a different door.
Okay,
It's,
so the experience, the knowledge, the skills you acquire in corporate America, how
yeah.
this shift is aligned to your strategic planning for your own life and career.
hmm Um, so that one, it kind of shifted my mindset in that it allowed me to almost operate. Well, I mean, I keep saying almost, and I have these words. I'm shifting my mind right now as I'm unexpectedly successful.
Ah,
Like, um, yeah, it's basically that I am able to operate as a business, still leveraging the skill set that I have been building.
yes,
And what it's done is it's helped me. It's basically been sort of like a moment in time that I was able to stop and see myself, for like all of the work that I have accomplished and all of the skill sets that I've learned, to say, hey, I have learned and accomplished an amount of experience and knowledge base that I can now transfer to small businesses. So
wow,
when it kind of just shifted my mindset. And so how it's helping me is with that shift. So it's helping me operate as a business, so I'm able to fulfill my dream as far as being a business owner and operate
yes,
as one. But then that is also helping me to actually shift, and I guess it's just by operating my mind, um as a business owner, because now I'm like,
yes,
oh, I have to seek out clients. I have to seek out business classes. I have to seek
yes,
out how to be a better business owner. And so, and I think in that process of doing business activities,
yes,
it's actually just helping me to help businesses better, because now I'm
awesome,
doing those small business things. Whereas I've got a lot of experience in large corporations, now I'm doing some of those small business things, so I'm able to kind of hone my skill set or my like awareness into those needs as I'm
yes,
operating as a small business owner. So that way, as I'm taking on like those small businesses, one-on-one clients,
yes,
and different things, I'm able to like give them even more direct and targeted, like,
support and
advice.
assistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you're describing your own experience now as a small business owner, it brings me back to the earlier moment in your life where you were seeing these people with their side hustles and seeing the missing pieces they had. And now it's like your firsthand experience as a business owner, now getting full circle to say, I was seeing the need, but now I'm experiencing the need, and just reinforces one more time the passion and the caring of you on systems and strategic planning and processes, and really, yeah, this is so fascinating.
That's so
It's
funny
like,
that you say that, because I was actually just thinking about that the other day. Like actually just yesterday, I'm going through a cleanup of my data, because before now I've just been operating like as a person, and so like
yes,
the data on my laptop and on my computer, there's a level of organization just because of my natural lean,
yes,
but it's maybe not to the, like where I'm going to be having my file folders built out for my business folders and things like that. And so because I kind of like started business, like I kind of like started my business, like just it kind of just came up like just, just so fast. um I sometimes haven't had time to utilize my file structures with all of
wow, so
my
your
um,
own structure hasn't been fully implemented
yes, because
yet,
it's kind of
yet.
like, yes, because I kind of laughed at myself and I called out myself, because I'm always like, data integrity is very
Yes,
important. And I thought to myself, like I have to stop and do a data cleanup on myself. And I'm like, wow, like I really put myself in those people's shoes. I'm like,
yes,
Judge not, least you be judged the same, because I can because I can see how easy it is. Like when you start
Yes,
business, it's like sometimes it doesn't always start as kind of like cookie cutter, like do one, two, three, four,
yes,
and then you would
yes.
have all of your documents in a row in order. No,
And
sometimes
just
it's
like
like handle, handle.
that.
And then it's like, oh my God, I'm in business, and okay, I have like this, and I like, oh, and I need an invoice. Okay, like, all right, now like, and so it kind of like happens that way. And so, I mean, so
You're
it's,
totally describing myself right now.
and that, but that, yeah, like, and so
And
now
I'm
I'm
sure
like,
many business owners as well
yeah,
that are listening to this podcast.
so
Anyway,
like, I had that experience, and now I was like, and so now I'm able to like, I catch myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, save it in the folder. Okay, do the naming convention. Okay, so it's, so I'm kind of doing a hard stop where I'm like
yes,
going, okay, now we're acting as this is my business computer now. So
yes.
we have to be, establish my
Follow
business
protocol.
practices and like data practices that I'm used to doing at work, and bringing those to my,
I
my own
love
work
that.
computer. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So, Michelle, you keep doing this as when you say
I
business
don't know.
owner.
I don't know. I
Come
do that.
on. I mean, so for my audience, this is a woman who has been running her own business for 2+ years, leveraging all the skills, and this is still part of her language. And so this is just to highlight that business ownership is not an easy thing. But I don't know if you can capture the energy from Michelle as she described that moment of frustration versus the moment of excitement as she's describing how she is growing as a business owner, and more importantly, have acquiring a different set of skills as a business owner to even help those business owners that she works with at a different level, at a deeper level, and from a very first-hand experience, which if you don't go through it, there is no way you can acquire those skills. There's no other way. I love it, Michelle. I will quote you as a business owner.
Awesome.
Anyway, um, Michelle, going back to that moment of you deciding, how was your resignation moment? Like, were you filled with excitement or anxiety or both, or like what, how was that moment of transition?
It was fear, intense fear, intense fear, just crazy, like bewilderment, like just not knowing, like, yeah, just I don't know what's going on here, like, because that was my that was my safety net, basically. That was my strategic plan in life, was like I
Yes.
had to have my career. Like I don't have a plan B. I don't have like a trust fund. I don't have like I'm single. I don't have like so my income is like supporting my household.
Yes.
So it's kind of like if I'm jumping out here, if I'm submitting my resignation, that's not a game.
Wow.
And there is a lot of implications that comes, and then that fear of like in that process of building up my career, like in while I was working there, I had grown in my career, so that I
Yes.
had grown in my my stability in my life, and like my comfort level that I was able to like provide myself. So to be able to risk that, and then like risk, I'm putting myself at risk for like, I, built myself up to this level of comfort that I'm able to provide myself. Now I'm risking possibly like going back, like
Wow.
going down to like, that shakiness or instability, or, that foundation that I had was, kind of came from. So that was fearful. That was extremely terrifying. And then just to think of this new opportunity, it's not something that, you know that I'm very familiar with, it kind of feels like, is this fraud? I don't know if is this like, is this for real? Like, I'm like
Yes.
betting my whole life, like all my eggs are now like in this basket.
Yes.
So that was that moment, this fear. I talked to my mentors, like in that job, like anyone that could give me advice to let them know, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. What do you think? And everyone was very supportive. So that kind of like made me feel at least some kind of semblance of okay about it.
Yes.
That my mentors were very supportive about it. And even encouraging, because I had spent so long in that one large corporation, and because that corporation is so large, and I was able to go through like all of these different roles
Yes.
in that job career, or I'm sorry, in that company, like I was able to gain a lot of different experience, but it was
Yes.
all like indoctrinated in that corporation, which is very, it's a good corporation, they have a lot of good practices, but
Yes.
my mentors were able, encouraging me, if I went outside, I would gain additional exposure to other like corporate cultures, different, problems, different things that are going on. And so that would be a benefit to have that exposure. And they always said, like, if, worst case scenario, you could always come back.
Wow.
So,
So there's, wow. That's
yeah,
so
so they were
exciting.
encouraging in that
So,
sense.
question: what made you decide to go on your own versus finding another corporate job?
I think the pandemic, really. I think the pandemic really did a lot to shift my mindset. And I think if you just like my life every year is always like my mindset's always growing, because I'm always intentionally like investing in personal development and trying to grow myself. But during the pandemic, that was obviously huge for everybody. And
Yes.
I learned a lot of things about myself in the pandemic, and just gained like a different perspective. Like I just felt like, hey, it's the end of the world, we got to do what we want to try, like, you know what I mean? It's a kind of like that waiting till tomorrow, like, oh well, I'll start my business one day, or oh, I'll start this, like, it kind of was just like the pandemic was just like, it's now or never. Like, you do it today, there may not be a tomorrow. I mean, that, I guess that's always been true, but that reality really became present in the pandemic. And so I think that really made me like more apt to be like, jump out and do something like
That's
drastically
so
different, and be
cool.
like, I'm, changing something. So I think that kind of like, you know, raised the temperature on that a little bit.
That's so exciting. What is exciting about the future for Savvy Consulting Group? What's
Everything.
coming?
Oh
What's
my gosh.
coming? Tell
Oh
us,
my
tell
gosh.
us.
So many things.
Because you have a strategic plan, I am almost 100% sure.
I do, and I'm super
Ah!
excited. Like, yes, yes, there's definitely a plan. And so I think we're rolling. I think there's going to be a number of things that we're going to be focusing on
Tell us
in
about it.
this next year. So one of the main thing is going to be focusing on content, just getting content out there. So it's going to build my audience, build up my, remove my air quotes. So I stopped talking with the,
Awesome. Next time we'll ask you, are you a business owner? We'll now have our quotes. Very
yes,
nice, very
I'm
nice.
going to
We're
remove
making
that.
progress.
Yes. So I think one of the big things I'm gonna be focusing on next year is like the increase of frequency of content and the types of content, and really like pushing that out there. And like on all the platforms, really like trying to build out TikTok and YouTube, and get those like followings growing, as well as Instagram, and some on Facebook as well. But so that's going to be like our main focus, is getting out
Yes,
content, as well as like,
that's
getting
exciting.
email, like my email list, going. So that might be like written content and stuff like that. And there may be a number of offers that like I come out with, because it is strategic and I do have a plan. There's a
That's
lot of things that are going to
exciting.
be rolling out. But I think focusing on like getting that content piece out is going to be a huge lift in the first quarter of 2024.
So, Michelle, what is going to be the focus of your content? Is it going to be strategic planning processes, systems? We'll continue to
Mhm.
be building from those skills and passion of yours, really.
It is sort of a passion of mine. Everything has to have a strategy and a plan. I actually have some pillars that I'm working on. So we'll have four main pillars that our social media will, or our content will roll up under. So one is going to be motivation and personal development,
Yes.
because it's hard to do anything when you're not motivated or
Yes.
inspired.
Yes.
And I believe that anything you build will rise or fall according to your own level of personal development. So, like,
100%.
knocking down those mindsets, which you also helped me with, and we're all growing
Always,
together. So,
always glad to have these conversations.
yes, I always need them. So we're going to focus on motivation and personal development. We're going to focus on data power and integrity. So that's at data integrity, data power. The
Yes.
third piece is going to be strategic planning. So that's what we were talking about,
Yes.
the strategy and the planning. And then
Yes.
the fourth piece, the fourth pillar will be like a toolbox and systems. So,
Awesome. That sounds so
toolboxes and
exciting.
systems will be specific trainings on different technologies that business owners can use and leverage to do different things, as well as like systems, which will be processes. So all those will be the four pillars that our content will be focused on.
That is exciting. Sounds exciting. For my audience, how can they get in touch with you to follow up what's coming for them for their own benefit?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, you on all of my platforms, you can find me at Savvy Consultant Group, as a handle,
Yes.
all together in one word. That's Savvy, SAVVY Consultant, Group, and
Group.
that
And
is
this
on
is
all
Instagram,
platforms.
Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. That's exciting. Okay, three questions.
Okay.
Were you expected to be successful, Michelle, as a business owner?
I was expecting it, but not in this path and not in this way.
All right. So success looks different than what you had in mind.
Yes, totally, totally different.
In a good way or in a bad way or just different?
Just different, just completely different. I think my life journey has been different than I expected, and yeah, it's just different. I think it's just the possibilities are still amazing, and so it's not better or worse, but just totally different.
I love that the possibilities are still amazing. Like possibilities out there.
Yes.
Michelle, what would be words of wisdom for women out there at the verge of taking that scary step and doing their own, whether it's a side hustle or full time? What would you tell them?
I would really want to encourage them and tell them, um, anything is possible with a strong process and a strategic plan. Anything is possible. Whatever your goal is, it is possible if you get a strong process and a strategic plan.
Yes, and Michelle has said this before, where she says, I am online today. Anything is possible with a strong process and a strategic plan. So she is consistent and persistent. Those two words. Okay,
Yes.
so the last question. If you have to summarize your business journey in one word, what would that be?
Wow, that is a hard question. Oh my gosh. Griselda, in one word, my business journey. Oh my gosh, I'm trying so hard not to use strategic because
Strategic planning.
that's my first thing that comes into mind. Strategy. Um, no, dedication. I think
Dedication.
staying dedicated and dedicated or resilient, because
Yes.
those two things kind of go hand in hand. But I think without those two pieces, or without dedication or resilience, I wouldn't be sitting here today in any way, shape, or form.
That is so cool. Michelle, you know, it is my honor to get first handle of your journey as a business owner. And I know that many listeners will be inspired by your raw and genuine story of this journey that started in with humble beginnings, with a great vision, and just the 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 grit, the commitment to make it work. And I am excited for you for 2024. And I am excited for those business owners that you will help transform their businesses and save money, optimize, increase revenues, because this is all what systems can do for you. For my audience, I want to thank you for sharing this moment with us. And until next episode, more to come.